let me start by introducing myself real briefly, and then I'm going to give you just a little bit of information about Money 101, and then I'm going to start to ask you some questions. And there's only like 5 or 6 questions that I want to ask, and they're not true or false questions. They're not multiple choice. They're just open-ended. And so when I ask them, what I'm looking for is your opinion, your attitude, your ideas. And there's no wrong answers to these. The only thing that becomes wrong is if I can't get you to give an answer. So I'm hoping that you'll be engaged in our discussion and really tell me what you think. I know that mom or dad might be in the background listening, and if that's the case, that's fine, of course. We're going to try to ignore them because I'm interested in hearing from you. I may have had a conversation with one of your parents perhaps a couple of days ago in a similar setting that I had for parents. So with that, my name is Rick Haskell, and I am an associate professor of finance in the Gore School of Business at Westminster College. And all that means is I teach people a little bit older than you are about money and numbers and how to add them up and how to manage them. I was given the opportunity to coordinate this virtual summer camp, which is kind of an interesting situation given that normally we would do this in person, right? And we'd have people come to our campus, and if you've never been to our campus, it's an absolutely beautiful campus. And we'd have people come to the campus, and we'd be in our Center for Financial Analysis, which is kind of like a big stock and bond trading room. It's like a trading floor on the New York Stock Exchange. And we'd go through everything, but here we're going to do it virtually. We're going to do it through Zoom, and we're going to use some really interesting modalities, I think, in order to keep a really high level of engagement and help you understand the role that money really will play as you get older, as you become more like your parents, and then as you become more like, well, me, which is like really old, right? So my goal here is to help you understand money, and I don't mean just in the how you count it or keeping a budget or some of the boring things, which are really important, but I want to try to find a way to help it be engaging and fun for you so that the things we talk about stick in. So the questions that I'm going to ask will be focused on finding ways so that I can help you learn these things, and the other people working with me can help you learn these things, and they'll stick so that you can use them for years and years to come. So with that, I'm going to share my screen so you can see a little PowerPointing for a minute. I don't do a lot of PowerPoints, but I want to do a little bit with this. So stay with me as I share my screen. So I think you can see my PowerPoint on the screen. Is that right? Kendall, can you nod your head if that's right? Good. Okay. So all I want to use this for is to give you a sense of some detailing for a minute so that you're not wondering. May or may not be important to you, I don't know. But I want you to understand, and then I'll start asking questions. And what I'll do when I get to questions is I will put a question up on the PowerPoint so you can read it. I'll say it as well, of course. But I'll put it up on the PowerPoint, and then as soon as I think you've read it, I'll go ahead and bring the PowerPoint down so that we're just seeing each other. And then I'm going to ask you guys to answer the question. And since there's only a few of us, that'll be fairly simple to do. Okay? So first of all, these Money 101 virtual summer camp sessions will be held the last week of July and the first week of August. And middle school students, so 12, 13, 14 or so of age, will be the last week of July. And you'll have a choice between a morning session from 8:30 a.m. until noon, or an afternoon session from 1 until 4:30. And then for high school students, it'll be the first week of August, so the very next week. And again, same choices of time during the day. The full cost of this for whomever is paying it is $160 for the camp. And if the individual's coming from, or the student's coming from one of the households of Westminster College alumni or faculty or staff, there's a discount for it. Now, that probably doesn't mean a lot to you guys, and you probably don't care about that, but here's what you might be interested in. As part of that fee, every one of the students is going to get a financial calculator so that you can learn to do all the stuff we're going to do in this camp and do it where other people around you don't know how to do these things. In fact, we're going to teach you to do some things that I'm going to guess some of your moms and dads don't know how to do. I mean, how cool will that be if you turn around and teach your moms and dads about a little bit of finance, right, Weston? It'd be a good opportunity, right? You'll get a Money 101 t-shirt, you'll get a book bag, you get some other camp materials, but we'll give you some things that I think that you're going to be able to enjoy. I will be teaching the camp sessions, but along with some of the students I work with here at the college. So some of the time I'll be in the background, some of the time I'll be right there in front of things, but always there will be some of the more successful students that work with me that know their stuff in a big way. In fact, Ava Binder, who is observing our session today, is one of those students that's been working with me. She may actually be helping out a little bit when the camps come, but she's been working with me behind the scenes, and she'll continue to do that. I want to make sure that you and your parents know that this discussion today is being recorded, and I will send to you a link of the recording sometime later this afternoon. So if you ever want to go look at it, you always can, but I want you to have a copy of anything we've done with you. And then we might end up using some of that material in some of our promotional material for the camp as well. So any question about any of all that gobbledygook, all that stuff? Yeah, Weston, I'll need you to come off. There you go.
So I was wondering about the sessions. So is it like every day of the last week of July?
Yeah, good question. So it's going to be Monday through Friday, and it'll all be virtual, Weston. So it'll be held either by Zoom or maybe Teams, probably Zoom. And sometimes the Zoom session will have 20 or 30 youth, and sometimes we'll break out into smaller groups of 3 or 4 or 5 during part of it, but it'll all be active. None of this is just giving you guys packets. None of it's just giving you videos to watch. It'll all be active and engaged with people talking to you and hearing from you about finance and money. Good question. Any other questions before we move on, guys? Okay, so let's get to the heart of this. So here's the first question I'm going to ask you, and then I'll quit sharing the screen here for a few moments. So if you were going to be one of the students, one of the youth in the camp, I know some of you might be, some of you might not, but if you were going to be, what do you want to learn? What are you looking for? Kendall, you know me a little bit, right? We've met before. Okay. What do you want to learn about finance and money?
I think it'd be nice to learn a little bit about loans and stuff, since we're probably going to have to deal with that when we're older.
Yeah, loans become a big deal, don't they? Mortgages, maybe buying a car. Some people even have student loans to help afford college, right? Okay, good to know. What about you, Melanie?
I'd probably want to learn how to deal with taxes.
Taxes. Good, taxes. Okay. Well, I think you used the right word. We have to deal with them, right? And so that's good to know. What about you, Weston? What do you want to learn? I'm going to come back to you guys again because I think you might want to learn more than one thing. I'm hoping so anyway. What do you want to learn, buddy?
I think maybe a little bit about banks, because at least as far as I don't really understand how they make money, and it might be interesting to learn about a little bit more about banks and kind of maybe the economy a little bit, because I don't really understand that too well.
Okay. Well, Weston, I have to tell you that if you don't know a lot about how banks make money, and if you don't know a lot about the economy, you're right there with about 98% of the adults walking around, because very few of us understand that. I'll tell you a secret. One of my dreams has always been to own a bank. And I'm not sure I'll get there, but it's always been something I've wanted to do. Okay. Jack, what about you?
Well, I'm just about a year out from being in college, so I think it'd be nice to learn how to budget things as a college student or someone on a very minimal wage, or with very limited amounts of money. So
Okay, I think that's very fair. Hey, do you also, would it be interesting for you to also know about the process of applying for college and maybe even finding financing for college? Would that be interesting as well?
yes, I think that would also be incredibly helpful.
Okay, it is for most of us. So I'm coming back around to you, Kendall. What else do you want to know? What do you want to learn from this?
Maybe it might be nice to learn a little bit more about the stock market, I guess.
Okay. Hey, so let me tell the rest of you guys something that's kind of cool about Kendall. Kendall, have you been to the New York Stock Exchange? Have you been on the podium to ring the bell on the NASDAQ as a new company was going public? Kendall has been there and rung the bell as a new company was going public. And that's way cool. If she's part of our camp, maybe she'll end up sharing that experience with us. What about you, Melanie? What else do you think you might want to learn? I'm coming back to you next, Weston.
I probably want to learn more about like saving for like personal finances, or like
Okay,
around that.
okay, I like that. What about you, Weston?
Well, I want to maybe learn a little bit more about businesses and how businesses finance, how they make money, and how they may kind of pay their customers, because I was thinking of maybe doing like a lemonade stand or something during the summer.
Okay, I think that's cool. So that's right in the sweet spot for me. That's where I spend all of my time. I owned my own businesses for about 30 years, and I dig looking at how businesses run and how they're financed and how they make a profit, if they make a profit. So we might have some fun doing that together. What about you, Jack? What else might you like to come away from this experience with?
Maybe a little more knowledge about like how much of a paycheck we should put towards like maybe savings or, you know, like rainy day money type thing. Just to like learn a little bit more about where our money should be going.
Okay, I think that's fair. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to go to another question then. And I'm going to share my screen again. So obviously, you guys have had a little bit of training with money or a little bit of experience in the online classroom. In fact, I think that most of you were pushed into online learning sometime mid-March, weren't you? Where all of a sudden you weren't allowed to go to school and everything was online and in packets. So what part of that experience did you like? And what part didn't you like? What did and what didn't work for you? So let's start with that. What part of that experience did you like? I'll stop sharing for a minute, come back so we can see each other. What about you, Kendall? What part of the virtual learning did you end up liking?
I liked the like the ability for us to like just be in our house instead of having to like always be kind of like aware of our classroom and stuff.
So is that code for you, like being able to stay in bed late and being able to walk around in your jammies? Is that what that means?
Well, I actually, most of my classes start at 8 o'clock, but yeah.
Okay, that's okay. I like that. What about you, Melanie? What did you like about that experience? What seemed to work well for you?
I liked how all the assignments we all got it like at one time, and we didn't have to sit in the classroom to like wait for another assignment or the bell to ring. Everything we just did at that certain time and finished.
So does that mean that you got to get through things faster and you got to get done earlier in the day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. What about you, Weston? What did you like about that virtual education you had here this last few months?
Personally, one of the things I really loved is the organization, because I'm really disorganized when it comes to like papers and packets and stuff. But online, you kind of self-organizes, which is. But it also,
Okay. I wouldn't have thought of that. Okay, cool. What about you, Jack?
I really enjoyed the fact, just like Melanie was, or Melody, sorry, I'm bad with names, but just the fact that we were able to do our class and then do our homework right after, do the assignments during the class. It just made it the time that we were doing schooling a lot more flexible, or and allowed more time for me to focus on more personal things and have more free time. So I appreciate
Okay,
it.
cool. So I like that. It's interesting to hear about. So now I want to turn that around. So there probably were things you liked about it. Now I'm going to guess there are things you didn't like about it. So Kendall, I'll come back to you. What didn't you like about the virtual environment that you lived in the last few months?
I found that the classes could get really boring, and it was, even though I liked staying at home, it's really easy to get distracted when you're home because you have all like your little gadgets and stuff all over the place.
Got it. So, so the distractions, and did I hear you say that a teenager found school boring? Is that what I heard you say? I would never have believed such a thing, ever, right? I'll bet your parents never found school boring. That's what they told you, right? Yeah. Okay, good. What about you, Melody? What didn't you like about
It's kind of similar to her because I found a lot of things distracting while I was trying to do my homework. And in classrooms, usually I would just be focused on one thing because it's right in front of me. And the teachers around.
it? Okay. So I'm going to ask a follow-up question to this in a minute then, because this is interesting. What about you, Weston?
Oh, well, one of the things I felt kind of, one of the things I hated about online learning was that you didn't really have any time with your friends, because we did like class Zoom meetings and stuff, but you couldn't really talk to your friends one-on-one. And that's even if your friends showed up, because in my grade we have like probably two or three, maybe like 200 people in my grade, but for every Zoom call for every class, really only like 30 people show up. So if your friends are even there, you can't really ever talk to them one-on-one, and so it's kind of lonely. But that's just what.
Got it. That's interesting. Okay, thank you. What about you, Jack?
I guess the thing that I probably liked the least was the it's like very variable on whether or not you can actually join the call, or like if you can do a call to like the ability that you need to, if that makes sense. Like sometimes Zoom doesn't work, or I mean, even like today my camera isn't working, so it's,
Yeah.
and I had a couple Zoom calls where I just couldn't join because it was saying that it was at capacity or something. So there's just a lot of I guess things that could come up that are kind of hard to sorry, I don't know how to phrase this, but I guess
Hard to control, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So sometimes even though technology is way cool, sometimes it doesn't always do what we expect it to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Yeah, that's a good point. So I want to come back and probe a little more deeply on something you guys have said here. And I'll ask this first of Kendall and of Melanie. So you talked about distractions. How would you go about finding a way to limit the distractions? How could you do that so you could be more focused? Well, what do you think, Kendall?
Even if it's pretty easy, I just like forget about it until class starts, but just like getting them off your space and somewhere else so you can't really like look at them.
Okay. What about you, Melanie?
Well, every night I have to turn my phone in. So I pick it up at a certain time in the morning. So what I did was I woke up before everybody and I just went into the room and just did my homework to finish it all. And then for the rest of the day, all the distractions just came and I didn't have any homework.
Okay. So let me ask you a question a little bit differently then. If there was enough activity, enough engagement where people were talking to you and you needed to talk back with them and such, and if you're engaged in activities, even though they might be online, would things be as distracting to you? Or if you were engaged enough, would the distractions kind of disappear? What do you think, Kendall?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so would you still feel distracted by the gadgets and the sounds and the kitchen and the refrigerator, whatever it happens to be? Would you still feel distracted if you were kept busy enough in the virtual class, if there was always something to do that required your attention?
I think so. I think there'd still be a little bit of like distraction by noise and stuff, but I think if it was more like an interactive class, it'd probably be easier to like pay attention.
Okay. Melanie, what about you?
I
Speaking of distractions, right?
think I think it'd be just a little easier if I was focused on the topic and I was like into it, then the distractions would go away like little by little. But other than that, it would still be distracting.
Okay. And if there was a lot of activity that was designed to try to help you not be distracted, would you sometimes just tune out? Because do you sometimes like the distractions? Kendall, do you sometimes like to be distracted?
I mean, it depends because, for example, the teachers will give us an assignment like to write something and I really just don't feel like writing. So like the distraction is more like it's more there. So yeah.
Okay. Melanie?
Yeah, I agree with her. Like if I had something that I didn't want to do as much as other people, then I would let those things distract me.
Okay. So Weston, I'm going to turn to you now. You said that you didn't like not being able to see your friends as much and talk to your friends. Can you think of a way, or you have any ideas as to how you can have that kind of social interaction in a virtual camp setting? What are some of the ways that we could provide that kind of interaction? Any ideas?
I mean, in like just like one-to-one kind of interaction. I guess just making different Zoom calls for like a bunch of friends to communicate and stuff. But
And if you let's say that you were put in what's called a Zoom breakout, which is kind of like a separate Zoom call, but it happens inside of the master call. Okay. And if you're in a Zoom breakout with 3 or 4 other people and you started to get to know them and you were getting to be friends, would you be able to be focused, or are you probably just wanting to spend some time just talking about whatever stuff?
well, I mean, when I had my Zoom calls, it wasn't really a problem. I mean, most of the time we would kind of just do like play games and stuff on Zoom calls. It was never really a class because the teachers just kind of gave us the assignments, and if the Zoom calls were really just if we had any questions, but they wouldn't like go through the material on the Zoom call. They would make like videos and send it. So we never really had to, but I mean, whenever personally for me, I don't really get distracted when I hear somebody's voice because I feel like that's a little bit more overpowering, just for me at least. But
So if the person that's responsible to be teaching or coordinating or counseling, if they're focused on you, then you don't get distracted. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So let's come back to your comments about being able to be social. I don't know if you use that word. That's the kind of word I'm using. But where you could talk to the people you were friends with or you're becoming friends with. If you were in one of these separate breakout rooms in Zoom and it was just you and 2 or 3 or 4 friends, would you actually focus on the material that you're supposed to work on, or would you probably just sit and talk as friends until somebody else came in the room?
to be honest, kind of both. I mean, I kind of like do some work, then maybe talk a little, then do some more work, then maybe talk a little kind of thing. But
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Jack? You sound like you're a fairly social, outgoing guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, doing little breakouts I think would be good. as well, just to kind of, because sometimes, the class will go on without people fully understanding like what we're talking about. So I think if we like break out into little groups, then it will make it easier for us all to communicate and kind of get a general understanding of like where people are at
Okay.
in understanding the class.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to go to another question. Is that all right? Cool. I'm going to do it anyway. So hopefully it's going to be all right. So now we already know that you've experienced virtual learning over the last few months. I want to know if it was fun or if it was just kind of something you had to gut through. Was it fun? Was there anything that made it fun? Or is it just a different kind of schoolwork? What do you think? We'll start with Kendall.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so over the last couple of months, you've been having school essentially at your kitchen table, right? And a computer. And was any of it fun? Or was it just stuff that had to be done?
Most of it was just stuff that had to be done, but some of it was actually fun when the teachers would play like Kahoots and stuff. And also when the teachers gave us time to like just interact instead of like always being like on top of like just you have to do work. When we actually had time to do things like games and like interact, it was more fun.
Okay. What about you, Melanie?
I found some of it fun as well. Some of it was,
What's one of the things that you thought was fun?
well, to me, it was how easy the assignments were. I don't know, I just found it fun to just finish it.
And I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, so I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit. So if an assignment is easier, then it's more fun?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. What about you, Weston? What did you find about this stuff you've done the last few months that was actually just fun?
Well, I mean, for me, the most fun things that I did were like science and stuff, because one of my favorite things to do is definitely social studies, because I just really like social studies history because it's super easy to me. But science I really like too. But like math, for me, was always kind of this task that I just had to get done. But like social studies and science and stuff, the stuff that's easier to learn, I loved and I had a lot of fun with.
Okay. Okay. So let me drill into that a little bit more. You like science, and you like social study because it kind of comes easy for you, right? And history.
Well, for me, sometimes with math, like complicated math, there can be so many different answers. It's more difficult for me, but like history and science, there's pretty much one easy answer, and that's kind of always the answer that you're going to get.
Oh, interesting. So some people think it's just the opposite of that. That's interesting to hear. So so do you like things that are really concrete, or I'm trying to think of a better way to ask it. Do you like doing things that have a system and a plan to them? You do this thing and then you do that, and then you do this thing and then you do that. Or do you like things that are free-flowing?
A little bit of both. I like learning stuff that's a little bit more straightforward, but I also kind of like being a little bit more free-flowing as well.
Okay, good to know. What about you, Jack? Was anything that you dealt with in virtual learning the last few months just fun?
I guess I wouldn't necessarily be fun for like the general audience, but I do enjoy productivity, and this felt a little like online learning felt a little more straight to the point. So I guess being more straight to the point was nice for me, rather than trying to make it fun, I guess.
Okay. So maybe you didn't quite approach the level of being fun, but it was enjoyable because it was straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And I just felt like I got a lot more done when it was that like more to the point.
Okay, that's good. I like that. So let me ask you, normally, Jack, when you go to school in a day, Yeah, I'm going to guess you get there about 7 or 7:30, and you get to go home around 3 o'clock. Is that right, or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
And when you were sitting at your home going through the virtual classes, how many hours in a day would you spend actually doing the work in the classes?
Probably about 3 to 4 hours.
So a lot less than you would have been on campus at school, huh?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, and I'm going to ask you guys another question now. I'm going to ask you to look at the screen here again for a minute. And I'm going to leave this up for a minute because I want you to think about it before I start to ask you to answer. And maybe you want to even take a second and write 3 things down. So what are the top 3 personal finance concepts? And when I say personal finance concepts, I mean, what are the top 3 money ideas or money things that you want to learn about? The top 3. So take a minute and write these down. I'm going to ask you to give me 3 of them, each of you. And it's okay if you end up giving me some of the same ones that somebody else did. What are the top 3? Okay, so looks like Weston's got his down. Jack, do you have 3 yet, or are you still working on them?
I have 3.
Okay. Looks like Kendall and Melanie are still working on them. Give them another minute. Okay, so I'm going to quit sharing. And we're actually going to start with Jack. We're going to go just the opposite direction this time. So Jack, what are your top 3?
The top 3 that I wrote down were how to avoid spending unnecessarily, because I I do that a lot.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
Yeah. How to finance for fun things or like going out, and how to save up for things but still have money to spend for other things.
Okay, cool. Thanks. What about you, Weston? What are your top 3?
I guess I didn't really get the question, but I wrote down 3 things that I would like divide my money into, like kind of learning how to divide my money into different things. And the first one would be like home, so like plumbing, electrical, stuff that you spend for like your home and stuff. Then necessities, so food, water, stuff that you kind of have to have, and then some fun stuff to do, you know.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. What about you, Melanie?
Kind of like with Jack about how to avoid spending unnecessarily. And another one would also be, I don't know, because like I was thinking like emergencies, like not like around the house, but just for me personally, and just how to divide my money into something that I want and then something that I need.
Ooh, separating wants from needs. That's important, huh? Okay. Okay. And Kendall, what about you? What are your top 3?
I put down for 1, I put like loans and budgeting and stuff. And then 2, I put like how small businesses work and maybe banking. And then 3, I put how the stock market and stuff works.
Cool. All right. Well, let me now kind of switch. I'm going to ask you how interested or how excited you'd be to learn about a couple of different things. I got 3 or 4 things. I just want you to give me some of your response on this. So I'm going to guess that, Jack, you probably have a driver's license and maybe even a car, but Kendall and Weston and Melanie, I'm going to guess you guys don't. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay, all right, cool. So, but I'm going to guess also that one of the things that all of you want is a new car, right? I mean, who doesn't like a new car? I can tell just by looking at Melanie's face. And Melanie, that young person is a little too young for our class, but we're okay, right? Cool. And I think that's your little cousin or nephew, right?
Yeah, it's my nephew.
Cool. That's what I thought. I know your brother and sister-in-law a little bit. So one of the things that I know I wanted really badly when I was in high school and junior high school, I wanted a car. If you could see my office, you'd see I've got a whole bunch of models of supercars and historic cars and muscle cars. I dig cars, okay? So how would you like it if we figured out a way to help you understand how you buy a car, how you finance a car, how you afford to pay for all the gas and, oh my goodness, the car insurance? Would it be interesting to go through some activities designed to help you understand that whole process? Why don't you, Kimball, what do you think?
I think that'd be fun.
I know your mom just bought a new Tesla recently. So when she did that, did you go through that process with her, or did she and your dad just do it without you?
A little bit of both.
Okay. What about you, Weston? How interested are you in figuring out all the ins and outs of buying the car and financing and insuring the car?
I think it would be kind of nice to kind of figure out an average a little bit, which would be kind of nice. So like when you go out to drive it, how much you know you're going to cost, how much you know it's going to cost, like an average of about how much you're going to spend every time you go out.
Okay.
So you can also figure out, do I really need to get what I need to buy? Like, am I just something that doesn't really matter or that I really need? Or, so you can kind of spend your money a little bit better.
Okay. So for Melanie and Jack, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a different question. So car is a big deal when you're in junior high school and high school, right? Or when you're middle school and high school. And cars are a big deal when you're in college, maybe. As you get a little bit older still, having a house, either renting a house or an apartment or buying a house or a condo or a cabin, those become pretty important to some of us. How interested would you be in going through an activity where we went out and bought a house and learned about how all the ins and outs of buying a house and getting a mortgage and having homeowners insurance and paying HOA fees and all that stuff? Jack, how interesting would that be for you?
I think that would be quite interesting actually, because I know nothing about buying a house. So.
Okay, most people that own houses don't know anything about it either. Don't let them fool you. What about you, Melanie?
I think it'd be the same for me. I think it'd be really useful too, so I can be prepared.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you. And then there's one more, and I kind of posed this of Jack a few minutes ago, so I'm going to come back to Jack on this. Since, Jack, you're just about to go to college, I think you said. You're right. Either you're right at the end of your high school or you're about to be. So one of the biggest things you're going to spend money on over the next several years, you guys, is college. And whether you're spending the money or mom and dad are spending the money for you or you're borrowing the money, somebody is paying for college if you decide to go. And I hope you all decide to go to college. So that said, how interested would you be in walking through the process that all college students have to go through to figure out how college is going to be paid for, what it's going to cost, where the money comes from, and when the money has to come, and that kind of thing? I'll start with you, Jack. Have you already figured all that out since you're right on the edge of this, or are you still in the process?
I'm still in the process. I still have a little bit of time before I need to know, but I think that would be a very helpful subject to learn about. So.
And did I correctly hear you earlier? You're going to college this next year, or do you have one more year of high school?
I'm going into my junior year, so I have 2 more years.
You got a couple years. Okay. So this is a perfect time for you to be working on this stuff. Cool. What about you, Weston?
I don't know if I'd necessarily be completely interested in it, but I would like to learn about it and have that experience to know about how to pay for college and how that all works.
So it's not all that exciting to you, but you kind of know it might be important, so you'd want to know. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. What about you, Melanie?
I think I'd be really interested in it. It's just right now, I don't know. I think I want to like focus on high school and stuff. But
Okay. So you know it's coming, but you'd rather not face it quite yet? Good to know. And how old are you?
I am 16.
Okay. And Jack, you're 16 or 17 yourself?
I'm 16.
And Weston, you're 12 or 13? Okay. And Kendall, you're 14, right? Okay. So Kendall, I'd like to hear you respond to this one as well. How interested are you in going through that process, understanding that process, given that you're only 14 years old?
Same thing as Jack and Melanie. Like I know I do need to learn about it, and it'd be maybe a little bit interesting, but it might be a little boring at times.
Okay, that's fair. So if we're going to talk about that kind of thing, we need to figure out how to make it not boring. Okay, I think we can figure that one out. All right, so we've only got a few more minutes left. And what I wanted to do in the last few minutes is give you an opportunity to ask questions of me, either about the program that we're doing, about how we're going to administer the camp, or anything else. Any questions you might like to ask? And I'm going to make each of you ask at least one question. So I'm not going to let you go unless you ask at least one question, okay? What about you, Melanie? What would you like to ask? What do you want to know?
I already said this before, but I still want to. I actually don't know.
Okay, we'll come back to you. What about you, Weston?
How do banks make money? Because I understand that I think you can put money in a bank and the bank gives you more money over time, but how does the bank actually make money? Because you could open free.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and the answer is a little bit detailed, to be honest with you, but it's really interesting. And like I told you guys a few minutes ago, it's one of the reasons that I think it would be way cool to own a bank, because banks have the ability to make money hand over fist. Have you ever heard people talk about you can either work for money or you can find out how to make money work for you? Have you ever heard people say that? Sometimes people say, mostly adults and such, well, banks have figured out how to make money work for them rather than them having to go out and work for money. And so in this this Money 101 virtual camp, that's absolutely one of the things we're going to talk about. What about you, Kendall? What question might you like to ask at the moment?
I don't really have any questions.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's satisfactory. We'll decide in a minute. Jack, any question you might like to ask before we wrap up here?
I guess probably just about taxes and how taxes work, because I'm a bit confused on that, like property taxes and things like that.
Okay, so not just income taxes, but property tax, sales tax, use taxes, all of that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. Okay, so for Kendall and Melanie, even though I threatened to make you come up with a question, I'm never going to put you on a spot and make you uncomfortable, okay? So I'm not going to make good on my threat. Hey guys, I appreciate you being with me today. And those people that are observing, I'm sure are grateful as well. There were yet other youth that were focused or committed to be on this with us, but for whatever reason they weren't here with us today. But I really appreciate your input and hearing what you think you want and hearing about what might be interesting and fun and what's just not and such. So thank you. If you decide that you're going to try to be part of the Money 101 summer camp, for those people that participated in these focus groups, there's going to be a discount. So if you or your parents decide you're going to enroll, reach out to me and I'll give you the discount code, and it'll give you $50 off of the camp's fee. So that's not a little dollar amount. And if you have friends that you want to have enroll as well, let them know about the camp, and you know, they can either reach out to me or to Ava, or we can send them some of the material, because I think it would be more enjoyable for you if you knew other people that are going to be there. We're going to make it fun anyway, but I think it's even more fun if some of your friends were there. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I would like to stay for a moment with Chris Gunther and with Nancy Schmidt. So thank you, Jack and Weston and Kendall and Melanie and Ava and Chelsea. We'll let you guys go, and I'll just stay with Chris and Nancy for a minute.